He's blown my cover. I'm a Jaffer as well. I'd like to share with you a personal story about why I believe we're going to be green in a generation. If we look back through great history and eras in the past, each of them have had a binding belief or philosophy that have united the people of that time. And each has had a different catalyst and a way of demonstrating that philosophy. If we think about the Roman times, the Roman Empire, the Ming Dynasty, or the Renaissance, each one of those has had a belief or a binding reason for people to come together that's much more important than the individual. If we just think about how they've manifested themselves, some of those can still be seen today. If you go to Rome, you can see the Roman Forum. You go to China, you can see the Great Wall of China. And if you go to Rome, which I'll talk about shortly, you can see the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And it's fantastic how we have these wonderful eras through time. And I've been asking myself, what is our belief? What is the belief that's binding us as a civilization now? Or what will it be? Over the last few hundred years, we've been focused on individualism and on diversity with no cohesion or collaboration. I believe that is about to change. And I believe that a way that we can bind together and make that shift is through the spaces that we live in and work in every day. And importantly, it is predicted that in the developing world, the amount of built space that already exists all over the world today will actually be built again. So this is a fantastic opportunity to really have a think about how we live and get that right. So, I was recently in Rome, and I was completely in awe of the way that the built environment manifested and showcased and showed and gave me a feeling for their culture, their ambition, their diversity. And it really spanned over 2 generations, more than 2 generations, 2 eras, 2 of these great eras. And while I was there, I had a unique opportunity to meet with 2 Roman senators. Yes, think Roman senators, think togas, think great visions, great plans, as I did. I was rather in awe when I went to meet them. But as the conversation unfolded with the Roman senators, I was kind of surprised that they were very frustrated with their political reality. They weren't really talking about their great visions. They were talking about restricted. They were talking about disconnects, about silos, that really the fact that they couldn't play out their great visions. One of the reasons for this is the city of Rome, or the greater Rome area, in their view, is problematic. It's broken into 19 municipalities now. This is not unique. Think of Auckland. We've just changed our 7 for 150 million people to 1. This happens all over the world, the way we cut things up. There's reasons for this, sure. History says that we shouldn't have one person in charge because, you know, there's issues around that as well. But really, what we've created now is a set of disconnects and silos, and it's challenging to follow through on a vision, an idea, like the Roman senators. They couldn't improve the city in ways that they want to. They couldn't address issues of energy efficiency across the board. They couldn't improve some of the transport issues they have, mainly because of the way we've organized ourselves. So as I was leaving the meeting with these guys, I was kind of thinking to myself, where else do we see this disconnect and this kind of silo and these breakdowns? We see it everywhere. We see it when there's a shift in politics and we don't manage to finish projects because it might be a political shift. We see it in the way we organize our systems, where sometimes people are not communicating and things happen in a little bit chaotically. We see it in the way we allocate resources and the way we plan things. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense because people are not talking. We have disconnects and silos happening all around. We see it in suburbia. I wonder how long these people have had to drive from their office to work every day. I really wonder whether we've got this right in the way we use resources. I guess one of the good things about this one is that they won't have their neighbors coming over to ask if they can swim in their pool. But as I was walking through the streets of Rome, thinking about these things, I got a text message. And I was thinking, Okay, so we've got all these problems in the world, and we've kind of created this interesting situation. And then I look at the technology that I had in my hand, and this is the technology that could possibly enable us to shift from this disconnected world back to a more reconnected world. Today, we have this access to information, we're sharing, we're connecting, we have the plethora of knowledge. It's a way we can use these devices to solve problems. So I believe that this technology that we all probably have in our pockets or in our hands or might be tweeting right now is part of creating this new vision for a new era that we're moving into. The rapid uptake of this technology over the last few years has been astonishing. If you just look at these facts and figures, information now is shared very fast all around the world. So this speed of change is a massive strength to shifting us into a slightly new way of thinking. But it's not really going to change our mind shifts alone. Technology itself is a tool. One of the things that's happening with this plethora of information is we're starting to need ways to understand all of this information that's coming at us. We're starting to see the use of labels. I don't know if you've bought a fridge or a washing machine recently, but we have an information tool called a label on that, which just gives you another way to understand, beyond its size, its color, and its price, how an object performs, whether it's a good choice or not. We're now seeing it with fuel labels on cars, with especially new cars. Again, it's a way that we can understand how something performs, and it gives us a level of trust because we have so many options now, there's so many ways we can access information. The exciting thing for me is we're now starting to see this in the built environment. We have labels that give us much more information about the level of natural light, the energy efficiency, the water efficiency, how a building is connected to its environment, the impact it makes. And these labels such as Home Star here, Green Star, or LEED, these give us a language to understand our built environment, to understand the choices that we want to make when we're purchasing a home or looking to move into an office. And this type of information is now available through this use of technology, which is fantastic. But technology alone isn't going to shift us into a new era and create any huge impact that's going to have a lasting legacy. I believe what we need to do as a race and as people is we need to reconnect with some of the things from the past that we've lost. We need to start thinking more about being, the values that we love, like growing vegetables, like being more connected to our community, like being closer to our family, not necessarily having to drive for an hour in the morning, an hour at the night to go between our offices. Things like walking, simple things like that. And if we couple those values from the past with the things from the future, from today, that we have now, and the things that will be developed in the future, we take that technology, we take the renewable energy technologies, we take the hybrid cars and the electric car technology, we take the communication devices, and we bring those together, and we start charting a smarter, more conscious, more efficient, more innovative way forward. I believe that is the era that we're now entering into. But that alone and those ideas are great. We are still in a consumption society. So one of the things that I think we have to start getting our heads around is how we shift and start valuing a little bit more these other collaborative features that I've just been talking about. And for me, I think about it in a kind of simple way. I think about the great things from the past coupled with the great things from now, but in a more conscious way. And I think about dropping one simple letter. That changes a lot. So it's not a massive shift we're talking about, it's a shift in values and a shift in beliefs. This type of thing and these innovative collaborative models are happening all around the world. It's fantastic, and I'm just going to give you a little sample of some of these things, and if you want to follow up and find more information, there's a lot of great stuff on this on the Collaborative Assumption with Rachel Botsman and other crew there. The walking school bus is a beautiful example of how parents collaborate to walk their kids to school. They're sharing the time that it takes, and they walk the same route every day, and the kids come out to get on the walking bus and walk to school. And the parents take turns. They might have two, one at the front and one at the back. And that means that the other parents, who the kids are not on the walking bus, they can use their time doing something else. Another fantastic example that we're seeing all over the world, it's not so much used here in New Zealand yet, is a model called AirBnB, an innovative model where people rent out a room in their house or their apartment. See their vision here is bringing the world together. This is interesting in many ways. It's a very efficient way because these people get to make money from the space that they have spare. It reduces the cost from someone who might want to stay in New York City, which is $600 a night in a hotel room. But it also enables people to connect and to actually meet each other, which is something that we find hard to do. Well, not according to Rod and you guys and your mission here. So there's another interesting model that has been around for a long time. Carpooling, car sharing. Look at the stats on this website here. There's 10 weddings that people have been connected through carpooling. So it's not just the efficiency that's been delivered through reducing, I know we do focus on efficiency and reducing CO2 and all those good things, but models like this actually bring people together. They connect us as human beings, and this type of collaborative model is fantastic on multiple levels. In the building industry, there's some really new models starting to emerge. This is a fascinating one which I love, which has just recently come out of the UK Green Building Council. This is where they suggest, and it's not happening yet, but I'm sure we'll be seeing it in the next few years, that there's a group of community collaborators. That's their job. And say there's a group of you in your suburb or your community, you want to have a wind farm or some sort of solar unit that shares and supplies energy to several houses. You would go to these community collaborators with your idea. The community collaborator would sort out, what's possible, probably not wind, it's too noisy, so you might go for solar. They would then go and get funding for this. They would bring all of the different people together that would be required. They'd bring the planners, they'd bring the city council, they'd bring all the different technical experts that would be required to pull off a project like this. Can you change the slides, please? It's stuck. So these projects are a way that the community can work in a really business-minded way to make sure that their investment can then be returned to them, but they can also get what they want, and then they can on-sell that value over time. So it's an innovative business model, but it's also a way that community and business can work together in a framework, a business framework. So this is what we're seeing happening, and these ideas are happening in a collaborative model all around the world. What excites me in the job that I do and focusing on the built environment is that this and these projects are starting to be delivered now. We're seeing projects like this that have fantastic natural light, connecting to public transport, as you see a lot of greenery. And I'm going to flick through some of these quickly as I keep talking. But these have only really happened in the last 10 years. You just think back 10 years ago. We didn't have Skype. You couldn't talk to your friends for free over the other side of the world. We didn't have insulation subsidies where we could actually upgrade our house. I was told to put on another jersey and harden up. We didn't value warm homes. And just think, 10 years from now, I might be living in a collaborative type setup in a shared community where I'll be living and working. My nephew, my 10-year-old nephew, might be running an innovative community collaborative centre and finding new business opportunities for business and the community. And speaking of my nephew, in classrooms these days, I don't know how many of your kids have that as well, they've removed some of the desks. They have collaborative spaces where kids work together and share their ideas and work on projects using technology every day. In my day, that was called cheating, when you actually worked with other kids. I used to write things on my hand like this, but now everything's available. And so this Generation Z, or this internet generation, speaks this language of collaboration. And these are the people that are coming through to actually support what I'm talking about here, this collaborative new era that we're moving into. But all of this alone is kind of not going to happen really just as a good idea. We're at a nexus point in time, or a convergence point in time, where we have the environmental pressures from the consumption society that we've been living over the last several hundred years, coupled with the effect that that has had on the environment, with the pressure that's currently being seen in the financial systems that support this. And really, we're at a point in time where we need to find new models and find new ways to actually shift us to find smarter, healthier ways of living. And I'm very excited because I believe that the built environment and focusing on the built environment is a physical manifestation of getting this right. So if we just simply work together, figure out how we want to live, figure out where we want to live and be connected to our built environment, this is a way that we can make it real, and we can see it every day when we spend 95% of our time in that built environment. Darwin asked, are we the generation that will stop the cycle of extinction? And I just wonder whether we can use technology and the changing nature of how we interact to actually accelerate our adaptation and find a beautiful path forward for us to actually want to live in and want to bring our kids up in. And Christchurch has that opportunity now. So I'd like you to join me in thinking about this new era and thinking about the embodiment of this new era of collaboration, of community, of innovation, of efficiency, and what that means to you. And I'd really like to try and name this new era. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to do that in looking into a new era, but if you have any ideas about what this could be called or what this means to you, I'd love to hear from you. Either on Twitter, you can see my account there and we can talk about it later today, or over lunch. Thank you very much. Join me in this new era.
Thank you very much indeed.